What's up, everybody? Chicago Show Off here, and this is another episode of Shootin' for Real. Today on the episode, I'm going to talk about Dolph Ziggler, who is one of the most underrated stars in WWE right now. There's a lot of underrated, and he's very underrated. He's been pushed and killed. They gave him the Money in the Bank contract, made him hold it for almost a year, having him tease cash-ins here and there, and then giving him a world title, and then taking it away from him. I'll get more on that later. I'm going to give you a little background about Dolph. Dolph is an amateur wrestler. Some of y'all didn't know that, I bet. He's actually an amazing amateur wrestler. He wrestled in high school and in college. Let's start with his high school career in wrestling. He wrestled in high school in Ohio, and he actually holds the record for most career pins in his high school with 82. That's a lot of fucking pins. Not many people can do that. And his high school wrestling team actually won 2 national championships while he was in school there. It's pretty impressive. Then he went on to college at Kent State University. And while at Kent State University, he went on to have the most career wins in their team's history. He had about 121 wins between the year 2000 and 2003. That's the most in their team's history. And I'm sure people have passed it by now, but that was during that time. He's a 3-time All-Mid-American Conference champion, and he's also the last wrestler from his college to win 3 amateur wrestling titles. That's pretty fucking impressive, if you ask me. Not many people have good amateur backgrounds, and he's one of them. He's a very good amateur wrestler. And let me tell you something right now, guys. Most people don't think, oh, amateur wrestling, shit. I dropped it, my bad. Most people think amateur wrestling is not a big deal when it comes to being in a professional wrestling career. Let me tell you something right now. I want you to watch a match that had a lot of amateur wrestling background and chain wrestling. That's Chris Benoit versus William Regal. Watch that match. It might not be a very long match. It's about 14 minutes long, but I guarantee you it's some of the best wrestling you'll ever see. Amateur wrestling is a very big part in a professional wrestling career. If you have a great amateur background, you can put on some of the greatest matches in the history of wrestling. That's why you need to watch the Daniel Bryans, the Kurt Angles. They are great amateur wrestlers. I got another match you need to watch. Dean Malenko versus Joe Malenko in New Japan. That's an amazing match. It'll show you how great amateur wrestling is. So, for some of y'all who don't think amateur wrestling is a big deal, y'all need to think again. Because if you have a great amateur background, odds are you're going to get signed by WWE. If you have a great amateur background. Because see, Dolph, he didn't wrestle in the indies or anything like that. He had an amateur wrestling career, and boom, he went on to get signed by WWE after they noticed him. Just like Brock Lesnar, he had an amateur wrestling career. As soon as the WWE saw him, they took notice and signed him. Alright, he got signed by WWE, I want to say, in, I think 2004 is what I want to say. They signed him and they put him in the developmental territory of OVW in Louisville, Kentucky. Same one that CM Punk was in. He was in there for about a year, had a few rivalries, had some good matches in there. And then about 2005, he made his debut on the WWE main roster on Sunday Night Heat, where he was Chavo Guerrero's golf caddy. That's when Chavo played the whole Curran White character. But after Eddie died that year, he dropped the Curran White character and went back to Chavo Guerrero character and all that crap. And him and Dolph split ways, and they had, after a few months after having Dolph as his caddy, they didn't know what to do with him, so they sent him back to OVW. And OVW, he had another run there for a few months. And about later on, towards the end of the year, they brought him back up to the roster as Nikki of the Spirit Squad. Yeah, I remember that. Mitch, Johnny, Kenny, Nikki, Mikey, the Spirit Squad, yeah. I didn't say them all, but I don't really care. But they ended up being the Goonies for Vince McMahon. Being the heels for Vince McMahon, doing all the Vince's dirty work, storyline-wise. And the main people that they took out was Shawn and Triple H, so they ended up feuding with DX after DX was formed back in 2006. And that was pretty entertaining to watch because all the pranks that fucking DX put on Vince and the Spirit Squad, bringing Vince a rooster saying he loves cocks, fucking having Big Dick Johnson dance around with Vince, having the 2 male strippers and all that crap, fucking dumping feces all over Vince, Shane, and the Spirit Squad. That was hilarious. And some of the matches they had were pretty funny. I can remember some of the matches they played where Triple H was mocking the Spirit Squad. He put one of their headbands on and started doing a Karate Kid impersonation. I mean, there were some entertaining matches. I mean, they might not have been catch-as-catch-can classics, as JR would say, but they were funny. I mean, people always say funny isn't money, but that's proven wrong. And they ended up having some pretty funny matches and great pranks all through it. I remember one time where the Spirit Squad was standing in the ring and DX was on Titantron in the back. He's like, "We got 2 words for you." And everybody's saying, "Suck it." And they're like, "Look up." And they looked up and green slime came oozing down on them. And it was hilarious. It took forever to get up, and it was just funny. And most people, I bet y'all didn't know that Dolph Ziggler was Nikki of the Spirit Squad. Bet y'all didn't know that. So, y'all need to do y'all some research if y'all want to know about some of these guys. Don't just say you hate them or you like them without doing background on them, and give reasons why you hate them or like them. Now, after he has run with the Spirit Squad, in late November, I should say, after their rivalry with DX ended, they once again relegated him back to OVW because once again they didn't know what to do with him after that. So they went and sent him back to OVW and they repackaged him. And then after being there for about another year, back in 2008, is when he finally made his main roster debut as Dolph Ziggler. And he was in the back for a little while, just talking to people and just introducing himself and like, "Hi, I'm Dolph Ziggler," and shaking his hand and shit. So he did that for a while. He feuded with Great Khali, which was horrible, and a few other people. He ended up winning his first Intercontinental title from Kofi Kingston on SmackDown, and he held that for a little bit. He had an on-screen relationship with Vicky and all that, and he ended up having his first world title win. Well, should I say not win, but his first world title awarded to him after Edge banned the spear from Vicky banned the spear from Edge and ended up using it on a pay-per-view, and she ended up stripping Edge of the title and gave it to Dolph, and then Talon came back and stripped him of the title and then gave Edge a rematch against Dolph, and of course Edge won it, and his title reign lasted about 11 minutes, I should say, I guess. And then he ended on having a few IC title reigns, a US title reign. And then his big moment came at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view of 2012, which was last year, when he won the SmackDown Money in the Bank World Heavyweight title contract. And that's when they started to go with him and started pushing him some. And they still wasn't for sure if, he could, bring in the money or, be the top guy. So they made him end up having that case for well over almost a year. It was about, I'm going to say 19 months he had that contract. And they kept teasing a few cash-ins. Hell, the first cash-in, it was after the night he won the contract. He was going to try to cash it in there. And then Alberto tried taking it from him, and he hit Alberto with the head with it, and then he ended up getting bro kicked by Sheamus. I mean, he had so many fake cash-ins. He had people from John Cena stopping him, the champion at the time stopping him. I mean, they had Ricardo taking the title and running the contract and running away with it. So he had so many fake cash-ins. It was unbelievable. But in a way, that's also a good thing, because when you see so many fake cash-ins and teases and stuff like that, you're like, "Oh my God, when's he gonna fucking cash in? When's he actually gonna get it?" And it makes the momentum and it makes the moment even greater, because like when you see him, he's like, "Oh, he ain't gonna do it. He ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna worry about it." When he finally does it, it makes that much greater. Like the night after WrestleMania, and then the most amazing crowd I've ever seen in a long time, and the New Jersey crowd. As soon as Del Rio's match was over, you hear Dolph Ziggler's "I'm here to show the world" music play. As soon as that music played and you hear that, the crowd went ballistic. Biggest pop, one of the biggest pops I've seen in the PG era. Notice I said one of them, not the biggest pop, but one of them. So don't try to say, that wasn't the biggest pop. I know it wasn't. It's one of them. But it's a very huge pop. So, I mean, as soon as he comes out there, Big E and AJ, gets into the ring, and as soon as Justin Roberts announces that he's cashing in, another huge pop. And as soon as that rings, he starts going to town on Alberto, starts doing his moves, and as soon as he hits that zigzag, the crowd goes crazy. 1, 2, 3. The crowd's going ballistic. It's finally happened. We're so happy. And guess what happened? They decided to take it away from him and from us. And it was ridiculous. It wouldn't have happened maybe if he hadn't got that concussion, but he ended up fucking Jack Swagger's dumbass ended up kicking him too damn hard, which I know it ain't ballet, it's wrestling, but I feel like that was I think he could have been a little bit lighter with that kick. He ended up getting a concussion though, ended up being on the shelf for about a month or so, comes back, we thinking they're going to give him another chance because they didn't strip him from it, and they decided to give it back to fucking Del Rio at Payback in his first title defense, which pissed a lot of fans off. And it pissed me off because I'm a big Dolph Ziggler fan. I've been a Dolph Ziggler fan for a good bit. I mean, he's got such great talent. He's got an amazing amateur background. He's got great professional background. He shows that he can fucking work in that ring. Look at his matches. His matches are 4-star quality and sometimes 5-star quality, depending on who he's working. I mean, he makes anybody in that ring look great. I mean, especially the way he sells the moves. I mean, like, let me give you a great example of one move I love seeing happen with him. When he's on the top rope and Del Rio gives him a reverse DVT off the top rope, not many people do that move. I've not seen anybody else do that move in a long time. The way he sells kicks, the way he sells clotheslines, he's an amazing seller. And he can make people look good into what they really are. And when you can do something like that, people want to work with you. So that's my opinion about Dolph Ziggler. He's a great, amazing amateur wrestler. He has a future ahead of him if the fucking WWE quits screwing him over. He started at the bottom and he needs to work it. He's worked his way to the top. He's paid his dues and earned respect. He needs to get his time to be pushed. And that's the way I feel about it. Alright guys, I'm rambling on a lot, so I'm going to end it right here. Tune in next week for another episode. I'm going to have people on my Twitter account shoot me a topic. If you got a topic you want to shoot to me, follow me on Twitter at Chicago Show Off. Give me a topic. The topic I see first that brings interest to me, I'm going to talk about. But guys, this is another episode of Shootin' for Real. I'm Chicago Show Off, and you just been shot for real. Later, guys.